children, Elise, Megan, and Sean, are running around here. So welcome to our home. We're honored and humbled to have you here. And we hope this is the start of something that continues. We understand that there have been family reunions in the past, but we're thrilled to be part of them now. So hopefully they continue and grow.
Somebody else's house next year. I'm done. Yours, Randy.
I want to make sure you know that my parents are right here. My dad's Jim Doherty, and Ann Babiar's Doherty.
Yay.
I'm the youngest of their 7 children, and we all love them incredibly, and they continue to be wonderful parents, and have taught us values and respect, and how to be a wonderful, loving husband and wife.
Cheapskate.
And
Too much for the collection plate going around.
it's all over now.
We have such an incredible family, and it's so neat to see such a great diversity of people and personalities and traits, and learn about our common heritage as a family. So I've had the privilege of doing a family tree and being in contact with many of you, and it's just fascinating learning about the richness of our family and our gifts as a family. So what we thought we'd do today is have each of the families say something, and there is a little bit of an agenda, and we won't stick too formally to it, but I thought it'd be really good to start as close as on time as possible. And I'm so glad Mary Ann's back in the fold here.
Yeah, okay.
But you know, as I researched the tree, I realized such great gifts that our family has, and it was fascinating learning about fighter pilots in our family, or Air Force or Navy pilots, I guess, last night with some of the Kenny and Kelly girls. Yeah, fascinating. And that Joanne's husband is a pilot. There's a lot of educators in the family. There are accountants in the family, and it seems like we've really developed certain real specific skill sets as a family. And I think, kind of going back to Ireland, many of us have been back to Ireland and seen our family heritage there. And it's just fascinating to be able to be in touch with our history going back 100 or more years. So we're going to just take a little time and revisit some of that today, and learn about that common family heritage that we have.
It's too much. But we go back in Ireland, I think it's back in the late 1800s, where my grandfather had a mysterious death. And Jim, ever since he found out about this, he's been searching out to find out why the grandfather got killed. Evidently he was a fishing salesman. He would sell fish. And they had a great big, I forget the word. Boycott going on at that time with the fish people, and I think that's the aristocrats down there. They depended a lot on fish out there. It was their main staples. But anyway, they had this boycott going on, and evidently my grandfather, he kind of broke the boycott thing. He went there and snuck around, I think, and sold the fish to the people. And I think it angered a certain party there, and evidently he wound up getting killed. Now, there's been 2 or 3 different explanations of it, but we never really did truly find out the reason for it. But anyway, that was the beginning of, we know, of the Doughertys. It was spelled D-O-U-R-T-Y instead of, when my father come to this country, for some reason or the other, he come in through immigration, and they mixed the name up. My father was christened John Patrick Dougherty.
Patrick John.
Patrick John Dougherty. And when he came in here, they got it mixed up, and they put on the passport John Patrick Dougherty, and they put the U-G-H in it, instead of having the simple thing, and if people in Philadelphia here, they call it Dougherty. I don't know why.
Strong there.
You go there for anything, and if you mention your name, they don't even recognize Doherty at all. It's Dougherty. And my son here, youngest son, for some reason or the other, he picked it up because he's a little proud, you know. He got a great big... Big degree in college, you know, stuff like that.
Now, he spoke nice about you, so
Yeah.
he needs money.
So, anyway, he making out all right. But anyway, with the Doherty, when my father came to this country, he came here about 1912 or 1913. And he wound up in Chester, Pennsylvania. He had two sisters down here in Wilmington. One with a sister named Rose, and she was married to a fellow named Bonner. And, of course, they had two children. And you'll hear from somebody else how that expanded out to a great group of people. And with my Aunt Mary, she was married in Ireland to a McLaughlin, I think his name was. And when she came to this country, she married a Kelly. And I think he was an American citizen. I don't think he was born in Ireland, but he was Irish. So. And they had 4 children. And it was a great experience with them. What they turned out to be. Turned out to be all very, very good people. But anyway, that's what. Then my father came here and he got drafted in the Army. He went to France in 1917, and he got wounded. He got Purple Heart, wounded 3 times, I think. Once in the knee, once in his chin, and once in the shoulder. And he was a very proud American. He loved America. He loved America more than he loved Ireland, believe it or not. And he was really proud of this country. And he tried to instill that in his family. And of course, the Big Depression came in. Well, no, he married my mother in 1923.
Then the Big Depression started.
And he was a character. He was a very, very good person, but he was kind of freelancer, I guess.
He doesn't have any contract.
Always got in trouble. Always got in trouble. But anyway, and I was a second. And I never got no trouble. I was just the weed part that everybody ignored anyway. And then my other brother, Murner, he know, the funny thing I never did, and I never told anybody this, I never told my father I loved him, you know? And here I am, 82 years old, I never told him that.
I did.
And I know you did. You did anything to get on the right side of it.
I was the only one that ever told him this night.
He was that truth, that's the truth. Nobody, but I always was so sorry. So I say to the young people around, how you supposed to love them, you know, now and then. Even at Christmas time or whenever, but that's nice. But I never did it, and I'm awful sorry that I ever did it.
Yeah, he does it all the time, say that, yeah.
So, that's all, let somebody else talk.
Thanks to Jim for all the work he did. I'm not much of a speaker, I'm kind of nervous, but anyway, I'm going to do my bit. My name's Kevin Doherty, and it's my wife Elizabeth, and my daughter Kelly. And my grandfather was Dan, as we call him Dan Donaldmore. Dan was Patrick's brother, who was the guy that came to America and started all this mess. But, so, like, I never really, I'm learning more about my family all the time. The only part of the family I really knew about it was my own, Dan, and, obviously my dad and my uncle. That was it. Like, you guys, I had very, very little idea. Didn't even know of Patrick, until Jim got together and started exchanging information. And even within my own family, there was a lot of estrangement, I mean, like, if you guys think you can organize a feud, believe me, I think we may have. Not that it's anything to be proud of, but, and plus, the estrangement within our family was never encouraged. It was my father and his family that they involved in it, and they never encouraged us, their children, to participate in it. But nevertheless, it was there. The bottom line is, like, I'm Dan Donalmore's grandson, and my father was John, who was his eldest son, who was his second born, and he was the only member of Daniel's family to get married. The other two sisters and the brother, they remained single all their life, and they continued to live in the old homestead until they all were. Their names were Bridget was the eldest. My father was John, was number 2. Number 3 was Sarah. And number 4 was Patty.
You met them all? Yeah.
And they actually had a 5th.
They were your uncle?
Yeah, that's correct. And they had a 5th member of the family. Her name was Elizabeth, I guess. They called her Lizzie. And I never knew that she existed until I married my wife. I married my wife in Canada, and she'd never met my parents. So we decided after we got married, we went home, and we went to visit my mom and dad, of course. And my dad said to me, "We've got little Lizzie back." And I'd never known. I was like 22 years old, and I'd never known that I had an aunt that wasn't about 9 when she died. So that's the way the family was. Like, we went, you found out this stuff years later. I'm probably getting off track there.
What do you mean?
That's how they work.
Well, because, I brought my wife home, her name is Liz, and, he said, "We finally got little Lizzie," and I said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "I have a sister, Lizzie, that died, I think she was about 8 or something." And then since we sort of reunited with the other members, my aunts Patty and Sarah and Bridget, and they told me as well, you know, I mean, they were always very affectionate about it. You can probably imagine if you lose somebody at a young age, she always sticks with you. So, you know, that was interesting for me. And anyway, when I was 12 years old, my father, who was a fisherman, he fished in Ireland. And we had a house on the original property, or, you know, about 150 yards away from the original house. My dad built the house there. And I believe that it was actually some member of his family that cleared the plot of land that he built the house on. Because I think they cleared the land and then changed their mind and moved to America. And so this land was kind of leveled out, and when he got married, he built a house there. So he had 10 children. In 1960, we moved to England. And in 1972, or 69, I moved to Canada. I met my wife there. She was waiting for me to get off the plane. Yeah, I'll play it. I couldn't wait to get away. You know, so that was it. I've lived there for like 40 years.
She was waiting for you?
I'm just kidding.
Oh.
His mother lived there, and also an old uncle called Shan.
government?
Yeah. So my mother then, on the funny side of the coin, she would say, oh, she was getting to be a teenager and she wanted to go to the dancing and she needed money to go to the dancing or she needed to get a nice new pair of shoes. So she would take a hen, right, from the farmyard and she would ask to get one and she would be given permission. So she would have the hen cackling away in a sack and she would go on a jaunting car up to the town to buy a pair of shoes. And she would pay with the hen. Yeah. Or in other times they would pay with eggs for things that they had to buy with money. Because they didn't have much money. So let me see what else then. The other little thing is the school that they went to is still there and you've probably seen it. That school building is still just up the road from where they lived, but it's now a factory. But the actual building is still there where they used to go to school. And the children all had to take a sort of turf with them to school to light the big fire. So that's how they get heating in the school. And the person that taught her was always called Master, and it was Master Doherty. That was the teacher. But it was very strict, so he wouldn't think twice about cuffing you around the ear hole or throwing something at you, So anyway, the Donamore house, which is the house that Kevin already talked about, that would be my mother's uncle, Uncle Jeff. So when my mother would be a young girl, she would be going to chapel and she would pass their house on the way there, on the way back, and of course she would always go in and speak to them. So then, obviously when my mother grew up, she started going out with my father, and my father was called Joe McGonigal, is his proper name, but he was called Joe Huddy. Okay? So she started courting Joe Huddy, and Joe Huddy, their family had a lot of horses, so he used to ride up past her house all the time. They used to court. So anyway, Dad did a lot of work in the land with the horses. There was plows, and he would also work for a lot of other farmers around because they had a horse and a plow. And then they also got a jaunting car, and a jaunting car had a horse at the front and seats at the side, and you would sit on the side and jaunt along with the jaunting car. Yeah. And my mum also told me stories about times when she would have my brothers on the jaunting car with her, and my father's older brother, Patrick, who maybe had a few too many proteins, and he would be driving the jaunting car, and my mother would say she's holding on for dear life to the children while he's jogging along, so that was quite scary, I think, for them. So anyway, then my father, Joe Huddy, moved to Scotland at the age of 36, and he sent for my mother. So they had been courting for about 5 or 6 years. So she came to Scotland, and they get married in Scotland. And they settled there in Paisley. So then they themselves had 5 children, and I'm the youngest of those children. So I'll just tell you briefly, the eldest is Patrick, and we call him Packy. Very Donegal name. He's called Packy McGonigal, or Packy Shanny. And if anyone's talking with me, you would say, I was talking to Teresa McGonigal, you would say, who's Teresa McGonigal? And you just say, Teresa Shanny, or Teresa Mary Shanny. Oh, and I know who you are now. They would know you on the nickname. So my eldest brother Packy, he was in the Donamores on holiday, as we all used to go all the time, and he met old Uncle Patrick, and he asked all about America, and old Uncle Patrick said, well, if you want to come out, I'll fill the papers out and sponsor you. So my brother Packy went out to America at the age of 19. And he joined the American Air Force, and he was in there for about 3 or 4 years. brother John, the next in line, we were all raised in Scotland, and he went to Libya to work. He worked in hospitals, he's a hematologist, and he met an Irish nurse in the hospital. She's called Christine Doherty. So he married her, and they stayed in Libya for 10 years, and then they came back and settled north of London, and they have a boy and a girl, Katie and Kieran, aged 27 and 22. My brother Jim McGonigal, and I'll pass a picture over. My brother Jim moved to Canada, so the wanderlust must have been in the Irish breed, I think. So Jim moved to Canada, and he married an American girl, and in actual fact, this is a picture of his wedding, and it has the whole family here. So Jim still stays in Canada, in Calgary, and he has a boy and a girl, aged 27 and 24, Neil and Jasmine. Following on, Patty going to Chicago, then of course my sister Elizabeth, when she became 17 and 18, and she came out to visit. Again, your parents, and I have some pictures here. Well, actually, this is Auntie Mary. My mum came out with Elizabeth. This is my sister on the way round. And she loved America. So Patty then sponsored Elizabeth to come out to America. So Elizabeth has lived most of her life in America, Chicago, and Arizona, and in between a divorce and coming back home to Scotland, she now lives in Arizona.
I give you Rosie. People with belts. With her sister, Joanne Coacher.
I'll take it.
Coacher.
I got my word.
Couture.
It's couture.
All right.
My husband's on it.
I'd rather do a monologue. It's easier. So, I'm actually learning a lot as I go along as well. So, and there's a lot of missing spots. Actually, my Aunt Michelle, who's married to my Uncle Stanley, feel free to chime in since you know a lot as well, So, and Joanne, same thing. But I'm the oldest grandchild, so I usually get doing the talking, yeah. But, so Rose Doherty was the third, following Lizzie and Dan. And Rose Doherty married Joseph Bonner, and they had 2 children, Mary and Joseph. Joseph passed away. Joe, as people know him, passed away about 5 years ago. My nan, she just passed away. It'll be 2 years, but I think would be really important to her. So this is great that this all sort of came about, and we received a letter from Jim, and I took it upon myself with my other cousin to sort of do some research. Just because as the generations go, you lose that, and we would just get bits and pieces, and now that I hear the whole story, it's so interesting why they kept things, or for whatever reason they thought they were shameful of things, but I look at it as being really proud of seeing how far that they have come. So forgive me if I seem a little ignorant, but I'm kind of learning all of this too. I don't know, she's probably in her grave up there like, oh, you never don't say anything. Right, because our family too is pretty much like, you don't ask, don't tell. You don't ask questions at all. And things happen, they happen, you move on, you don't discuss it, doesn't leave the house, you don't even discuss it within the house, it was like, that's it, move on, So, yeah, you're coming in. And I thought I was outgoing, and then I meet other people, they're like, you're really not that outgoing, you really don't say much. I said, really? Well, if you met my family, I'm the more outgoing one, but yeah, it was pretty interesting, and when I talked to everybody, getting that, it's pretty cool to see that. other complications.
They didn't have antibiotics.
Right. And pneumonia is related, just the medical side, as anyone who pneumonia is always related to other things, other disease states at the end stage, right? So figuring that out, I don't know. I don't want to say anything negative, but anything related to pneumonia. But she passed away fairly young. So her father, or her husband, Joe Bonner, didn't really handle that really well, and sort of was unable to care for them. So my Uncle Joe, we call him Uncle Jay, my great uncle, he went to an orphanage at a very young age, probably around 7 years old, and my nan, she went to the Bonner side, was taken care of by her Aunt Mary, because her father was unable to take care of them. So, for reasons, and yeah.
It also was a bad time.
And it was a bad time. It was depression, and there were, my Uncle Jay had to go to an orphanage for other reasons. Like people just didn't have the means to take care of him. Everybody's just full house. So my nan, she got married at a very young age. I think met her husband at 15, married at 16.
Wow.
Yeah, under the agreement that my uncle be taken out of the orphanage. So basically, it was more like she was kind of ahead of her time, which is kind of good in a sense, but sad too. Like you had to do things because where your priorities were. And she always promised my uncle that she would get him out of there. She would visit him and say, one day I'm going to get you out of here. And being that you're not of age and you're young, you can't do that, So she wasn't able to take care of him. So she married a Polish man.
She's rolling now.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Right, Stanley. And, so I come to find out that it was more like a business agreement, like this is this and I'll take my brother out of the orphanage, basically. So they married, year later, to the day, had her oldest, Stanley, who's here. She had 6 children. My mom's the youngest, and Stanley's the oldest. Stanley has 2 daughters, and I'm the oldest of 3, and 7 grandchildren total on my nan's side. So my nan had 6 children. My Uncle Jay never married. He was a total bachelor, and we think a part of him always felt in sort of like he owed my nan for taking him out of the orphanage. So he basically, his life was like helping my grandma raise her family. Never had a family of his own. Was in World War II, Purple Heart. Again, these things I didn't find out till after he died. I didn't know he was in an orphanage. I didn't know all these great things about him. Very humble. They never talked anything negative. I mean, you never heard a disrespectful word out of their mouth about their father or their mother. For whatever reasons, her mother passed away. Her father couldn't take care of her. There was never resentment. She loved her father. She actually took her father in after she got married. She took her father in and his sister after he couldn't take care of them, nor her brother. But, there's no grudges there. You do what you have to do. Took in her father anyways. And so they were here in Wilmington, met her husband, and I'm trying to figure out how they ended up in Philadelphia, if it was because her husband worked in the Navy Yard, and that's why they came, was it for his job, basically. And also, I'm sorry, I'm all over the place.
She went to Philadelphia. Wasn't she?
Her father? No, her
father's son.
her husband.
Well, say that's Wilmington that went to Philadelphia, didn't they, Jim?
Oh, okay, her pop.
Her
pop. Okay. But I didn't know
They
they
were
were
originally in Wilmington, and then they went to Philly.
Yeah.
I thought she worked.
Because when she was here,
Somebody was.
she worked for the DuPont. they moved to Philadelphia, had 6 children. And it's all amazing. And some of them, they're really sorry they couldn't be here. There's families expanding, new babies. I know they just have a grandson, and so a lot of things are happening. People couldn't be here today because of new response, which is great because the family's growing and all that good stuff. But I don't even know which one.
Can we start like with Nanny and just the birth order and the names of our aunts and uncles?
So my nan, she had 6 children: Stanley, Anthony, Charlie, Mary Ann, Patricia, and Rosemary. And a lot of bachelorism runs in the family. I'm figuring it out, and I'm sort of getting worried about that because I'm very single and can't figure that out. Yeah. And so 2 of my mom's brothers never married. And as I said, my Uncle Joe never married. So it kind of starts, with us, we're like the next generation.
Stanley has 2 girls.
Yeah, Stanley has 2 daughters.
Kathy and Michelle.
Kathy.
Kathy just brought her first baby September 30th. Last year we have
And he's Joseph Michael.
Michelle's still single. At the moment, that's just from the boys who are still not married. Our Aunt Mary Ann married but opted not to have any children. She's the oldest of 3 girls. Then next comes Patricia. She has 2 children, William and Patricia. Bill, our cousin Bill, Scottish. They just brought their first baby in February 20th. Her name is Isadora. Then it's my mother, Rose Marie, and there's 3 of us. Rose, she is older than me, listen. And then it's me, and then our younger brother, Joe. And then our brother Joe just had a baby about a year and a half ago, and he's Joseph Patrick, named after Mary's brother, Uncle Jay. And our cousin Kathy is Joseph Michael, but his nickname is Jay.
So we have a lot of Josephs.
We're not very names.
Yeah, not really original. But and it's great to see for us all the siblings, like similarities, or like you said, like the just different trades. I work in medicine as well. My sister's a teacher, and my cousin's a special ed teacher. Kathy's an accountant. Michelle's going to be graduating. She's a teacher. So lots of educators and kind of service type. Railroad. Yeah. Stanley worked for the railroad for how many years? 42 years. 42 years. Oh, yes. This is my nan and her husband. The ironic part is we never had any pictures, like, when they were young, ever. Her house is a pretty big house. I'd say it's about 11.
It's a 3-story brownstone.
Yeah, it's a 3-story brownstone, 11 bedrooms in Fairmount, which we basically grew up by the Art Museum. And never had a picture. A year after she passed away, we don't know how, I don't know, everybody has their own, how?
Michelle knows.
Uncle Tony.
Yeah.
There's a closet under the steps, and that's where everything is. And he was going in, because Tony and Charlie still live in the house. And Tony was getting the vacuum cleaner out, and he said all this stuff fell out, and a wallet-sized picture just fell out of nowhere onto the floor. And he picked it up, and that's what he found.
Yeah. And we never had it. All those years, and after they passed away, we looked through things, pictures, and never had a picture of my nan when she was young, ever. So this was news to me, because I only know her a certain way, and I have a couple pictures of her from Florida. She loves Florida. She loves people. Her and my uncle both, they were very charismatic, both of them. Extremely. Loved people. My Uncle Joe was like the center, loved his, what was it, poutine?
Oh, you got a story.
I mean, really just loved people, very, I don't know.
Smart.
Very smart. Yeah, and would always say the excuse, well, I couldn't go to school, I didn't finish school, or I'm not smart, I didn't go to college, but my life lessons were learned, like the discipline, no excuses. And it's great to see how that stems out from the rest of the family, just hardworking, ambitious, keep going, we have careers and going back to school again or whatever, but very important for me to make sure I could be here. Everyone had obligations, but they were really important to me, and as I get older, I find it so interesting, and I think that's important to know. And I'm proud of that, you know, and like I said, they were so shameful. I think they didn't want us to know that they were in orphanages or there was problems here and there, but I look at that as like how far they've come, more or less. So, but this picture showed up, and another thing which was bizarre, I was looking at the timeline, and I noticed that Rose Dougherty, her birthday was March 20th, and that was yesterday, and we were at the reunion, and we go to our hotel, and we're staying in room 320. So we were like, if anybody plays numbers, which my I noticed that on the sheet, and I said, wow. And I said, today's the 20th. It's Rose's birthday today, which was last night. So I'm like, that's room 320. So we got home last night, and sure enough, we're in room 320. So I thought I'd share, because it's in our blood. So I know. I thought that was quite interesting. So anyway, but this is a picture of my nan, like I said, out front of her house. And her house in Fairmount, which we still have in the family. It's a beautiful house we grew up in. So as of now, my two uncles that are bachelors live there.
Yeah.
And we're just trying to keep in the family to see, what happens next, Meant a lot to them, considering she, didn't have anything, she worked as a housekeeper and saved up that money. Little would she know that house she bought today would be like, it was a boarding house, yeah, and for extra money, she had boarders. So it looks like a bunch of apartments, and, that's
Your uncles own it now?
But my husband was Thomas Keller, so you'll hear it unfold. Say about Grandma Mary, Mary Doherty. She's doing something about it.
All right, as we said,
You can chime in with us.
before, Dan was the oldest, and our grandmother was, I think, towards the end of the birthing order. But an interesting thing that I found out, when I first went there in 1984, is that I guess Cassianne and Bernard were the babies. They were just still born. But she remembers vividly that when they were born, they brought all the animals into the farmhouse for the warmth to keep the babies warm. And we're passing around pictures of the farm where Grandma was born, and of course the whole clan was born.
So Mary was the baby after Dan, Lizzie, Rosie, then came Mary. Doherty. Who came Mary?
And it was just amazing how she talked about it. It was just almost like Bethlehem. They brought the animals in to keep the babies warm in that little farmhouse there, as we'll see with the thatched roof there. But she was an amazing woman. She came over, and Marie, if you guys, Jim, if you think otherwise with anything I'm going to say as far as the facts. But anyway, she came over in 1910. Stayed here until about 1914. She was single, and then went back to
she wore the ponytail. None of these pictures do justice to how I know her. I met her on my very third date with my husband, and she read my palm at his mom's house. And she looked at my palm and she said, "You will marry my grandson and you'll have 25 good years with him." And I thought, oh, she's crazy nuts.
She did not say that.
And she didn't. And my husband died 2 months before our 26th wedding. That's the only story I can tell you about her that I know that turned out
Well,
true.
she did have long hair down her behind, but
Yeah.
she didn't wear it in a ponytail. She wore it in a
Bun.
braid and then pulled up on her head in a bun.
Yeah.
Well, but
She also predicted that my father would die within what she called the space of a two. He died 2 months later. When her son Tommy died, she was at our house, and
she didn't know it.
she had no idea that he died, and then she
She
came
was
down.
asking about it, though.
She came down that morning and said, "Where's Tommy? Something's wrong with Tommy."
She knew.
She knew her son, that had gone. And my mother couldn't face her, she just started breaking down in tears, but she had incredible powers, I guess.
Wasn't she born with, I heard, a veil over her face?
The what?
A veil over her face, like an extra
What was the
skin.
placenta?
Yeah,
And
I'm
they
not
say people
sure.
that do that, I
I
heard that.
heard that,
The mother always told me that.
Yeah.
And that day,
She loved a little wee nip, though.
Oh, yeah.
Often she'd ask for a little wee nip, and no one would give it to her except
It's a
for my
good thing.
husband's father. He would sneak her a
It's wonderful
little,
that we
she'd
have.
say, "Can I have just a wee nip?" She'd say, "Oh, you're going to have a good time." You could say about her.
Oh, and then, your father would torment her and saying that,
Murph, Murph.
Murph, yeah, he said, "Your
He called her
family."
Murph, and then we named our dog Murph. That's a nice big way to talk to your mother. Hey, Murph. No disrespect.
They'd get her a little lit up, and then Uncle Tom would get in there and just start saying, "Yeah, I knew the McLaughlins, them Dohertys over now, and they were horse thieves." Oh, she'd get mad. Oh, her face would turn red. She goes, "I'm a Dougherty. I'm you." Horse thief. And they would just keep agitating her. But she was an incredible woman. Lots of stories. Yeah. And there was a story once that I think that you were saying that she worked, one of the people worked at the DuPont.
Yes.
When she came over the second time, she got a job as, I think, was one of the head
Yeah, she worked at home.
DuPonts, and they set a trap for her with a penny to try to see if she would steal it. And she flew off the handle on me and quit, just because they tried to see if she would
Boy,
steal
does
it.
that sound familiar. Quit. Sounds like my father.
It only kind out for the dollar.
I don't know, the dollar didn't work with my father. He wanted to quit, he quit.
Yeah.
But anyway, I want to pass this picture around for those of you that didn't see it, because in this picture is pictures of Maiden.
I had her in our house when I had a sandwich with Barney in Philadelphia.
When they were getting married.
And he died, and he left an estate. One of us, it was $2,000, or I think it was. And my father was getting half, and my Aunt Mary was getting half. They're getting $1,000 apiece. And my Aunt Mary, she didn't have a nickel, She was poor. She just lost her husband, and then she was the poor of the poorest. And here she gets $1,000. She donates $500 to the propagation of the faith.
That's Grandma.
My father looked at her, he said, "You're crazy." Mary said, it's for the family. She said, the family date for the $500 you get. And that's a God's honest truth.
Well, Grandma
passing down from our parents and their parents as well. One thing that my mom and dad always stressed, and is certainly shown throughout their extended families, is the value of education and the value of hard work and the importance of sticking with the hand that's dealt you with, that you're dealt with, and working with it and trying to make the best of it. And I think to a large extent, everyone in our family has followed those rules. One thing I remember from my grandfather, my dad's father, Patrick Dougherty, telling me when I told him I was applying to go to college, he said, "Bobby, get your education, get your trade or your education, because they'll never take it away from you." And it really never struck me, the experience behind that advice. But when you think about the fact that, the things that were taken from him, it really means a lot, because think about the things that were taken from him. He lost his father. He lost his name when he came to the States. And then so he really wanted to impress on everyone how important it was to build your own resources, to build your strength, your education, your character, deal with what you're dealt with. And in fact, he also was really in favor of and interested in travel. He was always interested in hearing about the places we'd been. And as I tell you about some of his great-grandchildren, you'll see that to some extent we took all of that advice to heart. My older brother Jim's first child, Matt, was born in Connecticut, and his subsequent three kids were born in Kansas City, where Jim's wife Carol was born and grew up. And now 3 of those kids are living in Hawaii, on the big island of Hawaii. Going down next in line, myself, like Jim, chased many educational degrees and lived the life of a professional student for a while. My own kids were born in San Diego and Woodward, Oklahoma. My younger brother John, next down the line.
Find out where you met your wife.
My wonderful wife Randy, who's here today, is from Indianapolis, and keeping with the strong tradition of service to community, including bookie services. Randy's a professional teacher.
That's how you met her.
That's right. Well, we met as we were going to the Fiji Islands after we joined the Peace Corps.
From the Peace Corps.
Yeah. Our brother John has 2 wonderful kids that aren't here today. One, Michelle, is pursuing her dream of community service in Costa Rica, and her older brother Patrick is following his great-grandfather's advice to work hard because he's at work today. Our younger brother Tom, who just joined us. Tom, are you here? There's Tom. Thomas Doherty. Tom's 2 kids, who are both here today, are Brandon and Daniel. There's Daniel. Brandon's here. Both are hard workers as well and have gotten college degrees. My own daughter Anna, I'm sorry to skip over Anna. Anna is here. Anna's back with us, having come back from New Mexico State University just early this morning. And then our younger sister, the older of our younger sisters, Mary Ann, is Mary Ann here? Right here. Okay. Is here with her husband Bob Shaw, and their 2 kids, Christopher and Matthew. I think Matthew's here today, but
Chris was here. He went back to work. He has to work at work ethic. He goes back to work.
Matt's over in the driveway.
Yeah, Matt's here.
He's in the driveway.
and I must mention, of course, the younger of our 2 sisters, Kathleen, who's over here closing the garage door. Kath is here with her husband, Mike Joffrey, and their 2 kids are here as well. Michael, who you just want to look high up and see Michael. He's one of the carries on the tradition of the tall Doughertys. Michael's a sophomore at Salesianum, and Caitlin, their daughter, lovely wife Heather is right here in the corner with the youngest of their 3 kids, Sean, and the other 2 are zipping around. You know, I think we're all blessed to be here with you all, and I really want to thank the Doughertys for sharing their memories with us. And of course Jim for organizing the meeting. So look forward to future ones. Thanks, everyone.
Nothing more to say to touch on. Getting back to Pop, he was a great man, and he was a great sense of humor. Always had some story to tell. I have 4 children. Bill's my oldest. AstraZeneca. As of today, we don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. And 2 are, one's a physical therapist, one's an occupational therapist. Bill has 2 children, boy and a girl, senior in high school, and going into a freshman in high school. 2 at St. Catherine's, they're real beautiful redheaded Irish girls. They couldn't come today because they're on a traveling volleyball team, which Grandma doesn't approve this time. And Gail's next, she has 2, and she's off on a little honeymoon today. Second.
Fifth honeymoon, whatever. Same husband though, right?
Yeah. She tried to talk him into putting it off till next week. He said, no. And then Diane's my youngest. She's a physical therapist, and she has 3, a 12-year-old, a kindergartner, and a 4-year-old. They're all doing great. I lost my trend there.
Diane.
That's what I was talking
Oh,
about.
I'm sorry. Almost
And,
agree.
you weren't listening to me as usual. No one listens to me anymore. Like I told these kids about this reunion. I've heard that before. And I've been very lucky to be part of this family. And this is so touching meeting all you people. And I love you all. I want to hug every one of you. And I hope I can make it to future ones. So God bless you all. Thanks for coming.